get my headphones. Okay, let's see if they work. These aren't the headphones. Excuse me one second. Okay, now I've got them, I think. So today is Babaji Day, Mother's Day. Babaji just simply means father. Are these working now? Can you tell? Gracious?
I can hear you, Guruji.
Yeah, it's not working. Let's see. I'll try to connect to it. That's it.
Tamam Guruji.
Why did I connect it? That's it.
Om Tat Sat. Nam Gurudev.
Tat Sat. They working now? Yeah? Yeah, just put them back in the case and turn them on. So, does anybody have any Babaji stories they want to share? There's quite a few stories in the autobiography of Yogi.
Nice to see you.
Tat Sat.
Happy Father's Day.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, this is from Shankaracharya, which the self-knowledge by Shankaracharya is excellent to read, along with studying the Bhagavad Gita. Shankaracharya is excellent for modern times. It's very relatable. The very nature of the self, which we're interested in self-realization. Paramahansa Yogananda, Kriya Yoga is for self-realization. So the more we know about self-realization is important. And then becoming self-realized is the purpose. But he says the very nature of the self, meaning what you are, being knowledge, it's the very nature of the self. It does not depend for a knowledge of itself on any other knowledge, in the same way as a light does not need any other light to reveal itself. So we don't need anything. We're completely self-complete. And we don't need anything to describe the self. We're never going to know the self through description. We can read the Gita, we can read self-knowledge, we can read autobiography, any scripture, any book. We're never going to have knowledge of the self, ever. It can't come from a book. The self comes from the self. So for some of you, some of this should start to make sense when I show you the Hong Sa technique. That's the technique of knowing yourself. You can very easily know yourself with that guru given Hong Sa technique. If it isn't guru given, it isn't that there's some secret power behind it. It's that there's help that comes with it. So we are the self. We just don't realize that what we are. We don't realize our nature. We don't realize what we are. That's a state of ignorance. All the mistakes that we made in life are very insignificant. God certainly doesn't judge us for them. Just imagine living life as most people do without knowing what they are, without knowing the purpose of life. Everybody wonders about the purpose of life. Some people that find purpose in doing something. The ones that find purpose in doing something are relatively happy, meaning relative. It's relative happiness. It's true happiness. Just simply knowledge of the self is happiness. It can be continual, no matter what happens in the world, no matter what happens to you in the world, no matter what happens to the ones that you love in the world. You can have this continuous happiness. You as an individual can be in unhappy circumstances, and your mind can be disturbed, your body can be disturbed, the circumstances are disturbed. But this is just the mechanics of yourself that's being disturbed. Yes, yesterday I was. Seems like every time I go outside, I get bitten by some kind of bug.
Pranam Guruji.
Springtime, and there's hundreds of different types. So I got bit by a pretty nasty bug that really hurt, and left a big welt on my arm. So it was painful, it was irritating, but not to me. It's reaction of the body to the poison that the bug puts into the body. So if there are unhappy circumstances that we experience temporarily, if it's physical, it's on our body, and our body is connected to our mind. So I used to get poison ivy because I'm allergic to it. When you get poison ivy, it's extremely irritating. You want to scratch it. If you scratch it, it spreads. It goes to other parts of the body. It's really terrible. It just comes from touching a leaf. So mentally, this is as a child. Mentally, I would really suffer from that. I felt very strongly, especially when you're a child, you feel very strongly that you're the body, because you're very much trying to learn about the world around you and about the life by learning how to use your body. So I'm suffering physically and mentally from poison ivy. Now, if you have self-knowledge, meaning if you realize the self, those things continue. The body can be disturbed by some insect bite or a broken bone or whatever, and your mind can be disturbed temporarily about things. But you're up here. You realize it's happening down here to your body and to your mind. Your body and your mind can react to things in the arena of the physical. It's natural. It happens. but you're impaired, looking down at what's happening. And you can see yourself, meaning your individual self, as the body, because your body is always going to be your perception of individuality. I mean, this is my body. It's your body. That's part of being able to operate in the world. But all of that is temporary. So if you do find happiness in life, I mean, if you like luxurious living and you happen to have the funds for luxurious living, then you're relatively happy. But death will still come to the door for your loved ones and for you. Sickness will still come. Natural disasters will come. You're not immune to that. So relative happiness wouldn't be the goal of life, would it? Shouldn't be the goal of life.
Pranam, Guruji.
Spiritual disciplines, which I like to call tapas, austerities. And austerities are very, very, very good for you. This is what the sadhus do when they go up into the Himalayas and practice various yogas. They're practicing austerities. Yeah. Us living in cities and towns and villages, not in a cave in the Himalayas, we can also practice austerities. Yeah. At one time, when I was, I guess in my 30s, because I had already lived in the Himalayas as the life of the sadhu. I knew what that was like. But now I'm living, I was living in a big city. Yeah. In big cities, every sort of thing is happening in a big city. Occasionally I would wonder, can you really practice Kriya Yoga? Can you really practice to a real serious degree with all of these things happening in the world, happening in your city, happening in your neighborhood, happening in your family, happening to you? It seems like there's so many distractions. And you practice austerities, meaning Kriya Yoga. Kriya Yoga is an austerity. Yes, you definitely can. It's up to you. You can change the way that you live, whether your family agrees with it or not. They don't have to agree with it because it isn't a practice that is going to interfere with family life. If you live with your mother and father, if you have your own family, or if you live with roommates, you can still practice austerities. If you live by yourself, then you can easily practice austerities. You can easily practice Kriya Yoga. So how would you do that practically? Let's say you have a job, and you work 6 days a week, and you live with your mother and father, and you support your mother and father, but you're also supporting yourself, and you're also working. So work is demanding your time. When you come home, your mother and father are demanding your time. How can you practice austerities? Well, I'll tell you what I did. Of course, when I lived on the Ganges and had no responsibilities, it was easy. You could easily meditate 13, 14 hours a day if you chose to, without any distraction. And then you had the company of Mahatmas, you had the purity and the beauty of the Ganges. You had a simple life, nothing to worry about, no bills to pay because you weren't dependent on the structure of society in any way whatsoever, not for food, not for housing, not for anything. So let's say you come back to the city, you're working a full-time job, and you have your parents. This is what I would do. This is what I did. I would wake up earlier. Now, I'm not suggesting that you do what I did. You had to set up your own routine. But I would wake up at 2:30 in the morning and So from 2:30 in the morning until 6 o'clock, I practiced spiritual disciplines. I practiced austerities. I practiced Kriya Yoga meditation. 3:30, 4:30, 5:30. Things I had to do before, washing, things I had to do before going to work. I always went to work early. It's easily 3 hours right there. 3 hours is a lot. Practice every day. And then do that every single day, 7 days a week. There's somebody to disturb you. It's just you and the moon and the stars. Everybody's sleeping. You're not in your work environment. Your mother and father are sleeping, hopefully. So, can't think of any situation where you can't practice Kriya Yoga. You might say, well, I can't wake up at 2:30. It's just simply not possible. Well, of course it's possible. It's possible for somebody else. It's possible for you. It doesn't take any special talent to wake up. You just have to start to make a habit of it. You could say, well, I'm not a morning person. But what does that mean? You're not a morning person. But what it means is you like to stay up late. And so you don't wake up as early. You find as you go through life, as you get older and you're in different situations, you find that the routine of your life changing. For example, the way you are right now is not the way you're going to be 10 years from now. So you're always changing, evolving, and you can get better, or you can also get worse, significantly worse. A lot of people, as life goes on, they get worse and worse. But you have the opportunity to get better and better. No matter what happens to you in the world, you can spiritually you can get better and better. It's not dependent on circumstances. But Shankaracharya says the very nature of the self being knowledge. It does not depend for a knowledge of itself on any other knowledge. In the same way as light does not need another light to reveal itself. So we literally don't need anything else other than what we already have. But we have to be shown what we have in order to utilize it. There's a friend of a friend that I heard that she worked as a school teacher. And another school teacher came down with dementia. And they were friends, so she took on all the financial responsibilities for her. And she was upper class, and she had a good amount of money. So monies were coming in. She didn't have it set up for automatic deposit, so the checks had to be deposited. But her having dementia, she didn't know that she had money. So even with dementia, you have desires. Sometimes she would desire something, but she would look in her pockets for money, and maybe it was a small amount of money, and there she didn't know about the money she had in the bank account. So she was unable to utilize it herself. It's being utilized by somebody else for her on her behalf. So if we don't know the self, we can't utilize the benefits of the self. Self has tremendous powers. We can't utilize these powers if we're not connected to what we are. All of our attention is focused on what we think we are, but not what we are. So imagine going into a room. Well, let's just say you go into an art gallery. So art galleries, if you like art, are compelling. You go there to see significant works of art. These are all outside of yourself. You can put all your attention on looking. I went to an exhibit once where there were about a dozen Vincent Van Gogh paintings, and I like Vincent Van Gogh. So I was able to get up really, really close to see the brushwork, to see the brush strokes, how he formed the brush strokes, looking for any abnormalities or anything of interest just in the little inaccuracies of the brushstroke. If you paint, you know there's always little inaccuracies in the brushstroke itself. Look at it very, very, very close. Get back further, and the whole painting is perfect. If you get up close, you can notice little flaws in the brushstroke, which have no effect on the overall painting itself. So you're focusing intensely on something outside of yourself, and you can forget yourself. You forget, well, I'm able to appreciate this painting because the light of the self. If the light of the self wasn't present in my body, I wouldn't be able to enjoy these beautiful paintings. So self-realization is just simply a realization of you're not able to do anything in the world without the power of the self, of what you are. And so you're in constant appreciation of the things that you enjoy in life, that you're able to enjoy them because of the light of the self, which is God-given. It's not even actually given. It's just, we would just simply say, it's the light of God. So the simple things in life that are very enjoyable are the sun. Without the sun, life wouldn't be enjoyable. We enjoy the beauty of the mountains. We enjoy the beauty of the ocean. We can do certain things in the mountains. We can do certain things in the oceans. Air is wonderful to breathe in and breathe out. We're able to breathe. There's a lot of delicious natural foods like papayas or mangoes or oranges, just to name a few, cantaloupes, melons. That if you're hungry, they're very enjoyable. If you're not hungry, they're not enjoyable either. So there's a lot of things to enjoy in the world, and self-realization doesn't stop that enjoyment. And you don't have to stop that enjoyment to have self-realization. The two come from the same place, and the two are the same thing. When you have self-realization, you realize that the self is projected externally in God's creation. The self is deep within what I am. So it wouldn't be the body. You can cut the body open. You can cut the chest open and spread it, and you're not going to find the self there. There's no self inside the body. When they say that the self is within, they're not referring to the body. It has nothing to do with the body. It's within your consciousness. What is your consciousness? Your consciousness is present right now, and you're aware of your consciousness right now. You know that you exist right now. You are existing. It's a tremendous power. Without consciousness, you wouldn't be able to enjoy anything at all. So life itself is very simple if people if they were taught correctly on how to enjoy life. Life to really be enjoyed. It's helpful for your life to be simple. It's the simple things in life that are the most enjoyable.
Excuse me, Guruji. Jitterbug has some background noise. Maybe we can ask to turn off the microphone, or maybe you can mute them. There's some background noise coming from Jitterbug Smart 3.
Also, your voices aren't coming through on my headset. Let's see what I can do. I'm gonna go to settings and see. That's it. I've got background noise removal set. I don't see if that helps. On that side, on that side.
Gurudev, background noise is not coming from you, it's coming from another person. If you can mute that person. Jitterbug smartly.
Actually, I don't think these are connected. It doesn't show that they're connected. I'll figure this out some other time. These are I'm not very knowledgeable about them. Very something else. I got so many devices that people have given me over the years that I've never, they're nice, but I've never actually used them. But then I find that whatever's given to me as a gift, at some time things change and it's something that's helpful.
The other two together into the mushroom peel off. If I had to think how it's made for dad. I just remember going to think houses with you. I remember you wondering. Well, I'm not sure if the menu would have been the same. So I understand they're not here.
I think what you
Guruji?
hear background is the air conditioning. It's real humid today. Yeah, nothing's connected on my Bluetooth for some reason.
Guruji,
Yeah.
there is a background noise from some other participant, Jitterbug. There seems to be a noise from a television,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
Is
that
it
must be
possible
me,
for you?
Guruji.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's your
That
back.
must be me, Guruji.
Yeah. Yeah. See if you can turn your microphone off.
Can you do it from your end?
With these either.
Can you mute me?
Yeah. Yeah. So see if I can see if you can turn your microphone on. Oh, here it is. Yeah, it's working now. So you can hear me better now, right?
We can hear you good.
All right. I can hear me too, and I can hear you. Is this better with the background noise?
Guruji, the background noise was not coming from you. It's from another participant.
Oh, it's from Megan. Yeah.
Maybe
I
you
can't
could.
turn it off.
Here, I can do it on my own, Megan. Yeah, you're turned off now. Okay. So, number one, you have to know what you want. Most people want things. They want situations. They want everything that has to do with something in the world, in the outer world. You might want a new bicycle. One of the first things that I wanted was a bicycle when I was young. So you might want a bicycle. You might want to play with your friends. As you get older, you start to want different things. I really wanted to have a York barbell set. I know I still, even today, I remember how strong that desire was, how much I wanted it. It was an Olympic bar, 2 dumbbells, and 315 pounds of weights. I really wanted that. So that's the desire for something in the outer world. And then when you get older and your hormones start working, you might desire someone of the opposite sex, a girl or a boy. And in most people, that's a very, very strong desire because it has to do with it's built into the world of procreation, and so it's an extremely strong desire for us as individuals. That's a desire, and around that same time, you start really caring what other people think of you. Do they like you? Do they think highly of you? We start to want that. That's also something in the world. And as we get older, we might want to get married. We might very strongly want to have children. All of these are significant desires. And then we might want a particular job, and we interview for the job. And we get hired. It's always a wonderful feeling when you get hired. It's a significant day in your life. And then as you get older, you start to want other things. You might want a car. I like the bicycle, like the York barbell set. Another really significant desire that I had was for a professional racing bicycle, like you see in the Tour de France. Most of you know the story of me with professional bicycles. Another significant desire was a Range Rover. Now, this was back in 1993, so this is a long time ago. But for me, it's still just like yesterday. My business was in Buckhead, my own business, and I would run to work or I'd ride my bike to work, and I would go through the Range Rover dealership where all the Range Rovers were. I would ride my bike, going to work and going back from work. So I know exactly which one I wanted. It was a Range Rover LWB, which is a long wheelbase, and it had most vehicles back then were somewhat underpowered, so it had a 3.9 engine. So that was a significant desire. All these desires are things that you think about. So your mind is occupied thinking about them. My mind is occupied thinking about the bicycle. My mind was occupied thinking about a particular girl. My mind was occupied thinking about a particular job. My mind was occupied about thinking about a particular car. But if you observe everybody's life is like that, but they want different things. That's called living a worldly life. That's living in the world. And then as you get older, your desires start to change significantly, and then you die. Your life is over. What's been accomplished? Well, you've done some good in the world, and you've also done some bad in the world. You still have unfulfilled desires. It's very difficult to in one lifespan fulfill every desire that you have. For many people, it's difficult fulfilling even one or two, and your life is over. And then you go to a spiritual realm. You go to the astral world with a whole different set of desires. And yes, you do have desires in the astral world. There's lots of things to enjoy in the astral world, but you still have physical, worldly, organic desires that haven't been fulfilled. So these are little seeds that have been planted that still have to be fulfilled. And so that's why you're reincarnated. That's why you come back into the world. It isn't for punishment. It's the nature of God to give you what you want. Whatever it is that you want, God will give it to you. In this worldly atmosphere, sometimes it can be given very quickly, and sometimes it takes some significant change of circumstances and the cooperation of all the universal forces to bring it about. So that's the problem that everybody has, is what I just described. They don't know the self, but they have all of these desires, and they believe that they are this physical body. And so that's the problem. The physical body was born. It can be damaged. It can be healed. And eventually it's going to fail. For Paramahansa Yogananda, we know how death came for Paramahansa Yogananda, that it was quite spectacular, but he still died because of organ failure. He had a heart attack. So he still died from a physical failure of an internal organ. The same with Ramakrishna. He died because of failure of the cancer had, metastasized. Vivekananda died relatively early from a brain aneurysm, which is the brain bleeding. James Land, Yogananda's number one most advanced disciple out of all the disciples, he was number one in spiritual advancement. He died also of a brain aneurysm. So it's failure of the physical body. That's the physical world. But you're not a physical person. This is just a temporary interaction with the world that you have. None of it really matters as far as the world, as far as you and the world. It's like going to, if you want to have various experiences, you're put in the environment to have those experiences, and then time is up, and then you're taken out of that environment, and you can reflect on your experiences, or you can learn from your experiences, and it changes your knowledge of things. So this is us living in the world is temporary. So knowing that, it would be extremely, extremely important to know what you are in reality, to know what you are all throughout eternity. That would be very helpful. So self-realization, Kriya Yoga is practiced so that you can have that knowledge of the self, where you're not returning to the physical world to have desires fulfilled, unless you want to, unless you choose to. You can go anywhere and do anything that you like after self-realization. Nothing will ever be detrimental to you. No harm will ever be done to you. It will be done with harm can be done with the vehicle that you use. Like if you drive in a car and the car is a rock hits the windshield and cracks the windshield, that can be damaged. I was with my father in the backyard and he was doing some plumbing work, and the coil came and struck him right directly in the eye, and so that his eye was damaged. It was repaired, so everything was fine afterwards. So the vehicle can be damaged. Our emotions can be damaged. Our brain can be damaged. If there's even a small amount of damage to your physical brain operates the whole entire body. It has an effect on everything. So any type of brain damage is extremely harmful, and it can be temporary or it can be permanent. One harm of alcohol and drugs, for example, is that they can cause significant loss of brain cells, and it can damage your brain. Different lifestyles can damage your brain, damage your body. But the self, nothing can damage it. Nothing can hurt it. No disease can touch it. And that's what you are. So you're invincible, and you have superpowers. And self-realization is the realization that I am that. I am invincible. I am eternal. It's not the end of life. It's really the beginning of life. A very vivid life. If you like this physical life, which there's a lot to like about it, you still have what you would call a physical life. In other words, the things the way that they are in this world. But it's much, much, much more. Imagine a physical world was heavenly, like in the Sat Yuga. If everybody had spiritual consciousness, everybody had self-realization, what the world would be like. It would be a completely different world than it is now, wouldn't it? It'd be significantly different world. Everything in the world would be different if everybody had self-knowledge. It'd be quite amazing. And they do say in the Sat Yuga, a significant amount of human beings have self-knowledge, so the world is significantly better. Imagine waking up in the morning and your first thought is, who can I help? What can I do for the ones I care about? That's your first thought. And then everybody else, your friends and your family, their first thought is, what can I do for others to help them? What can I do that is productive and useful for the ones I know? What if everybody had that natural thought instead of the normal state of mind, the selfish state of mind that the majority of the people have? It would be significantly different. And so many people at large know that they want the world to be a better place. They want the world to be without wars. They want the world to be without all the significant bad that's in the world. They want to solve all these problems. They don't want pollution. They don't want there's so many things that are happening in the world that are wrong. They want to correct these things in the world.
Guruji,
Yes, Sukriti.
are we like in the end of Kali Yuga, and are we like in the beginning? Are we in that transition period right now, or is there a long time for Kali Yuga to end?
Well, it is a transition period. So we're coming out of the Kali Yuga, but the whole process is so incredibly slow. So we're coming out of Kali Yuga, but the world is still highly affected by the forces of Kali Yuga. So Kali Yuga is still very significant in our day-to-day lives. It is easier to obtain self-knowledge now than it was hundreds of years ago. It's significantly easier. Several hundred years ago, it was significantly difficult. So things are evolving for the better, which means that things are transitioning into the Rakara Yuga, right? Isn't that the next one? But you're mostly seeing the influence of the Kali Yuga.
So from Kali Yuga, we don't go into Satyug, we go like towards Dwapar and Treta and then Satyug. Is it like that?
Yeah, and each yuga is a long time, so we're nowhere near Satyuga. That's long way off.
So it goes from like it goes once we go to Satyug, then again it'll go back to Treta, Dwapar, and then Kali Yuga. Is it goes in that?
Yeah, continues that way.
Okay.
Kind of, like we have the four seasons. We have spring, we have summer, we have fall, we have winter. You see it repeated all throughout nature. You see all the spiritual powers repeated throughout nature. The yugas are very, very long spans of time, whereas one human life, on average, is very short. The lifespan in India, for example, I'm just talking India at large, the whole entirety of the population is significantly a short period of time. So we live, we die, we're reborn, we live, we die, we're reborn. We continue in that cycle until all our desires are completed, and then we spend the entirety of our life in the astral world until all of our astral desires are completed, and then we spend eternity practically in the causal world, which is the absolute most best place of existence.
But the yugas are only in the physical world, is it?
That's a good question. I don't know. I know about the physical world, the astral world. That's a good question. Do the yugas affect the astral world? I don't think so. I think it's just the physical world. But if it does affect the astral world, I'm not knowledgeable about that. I wouldn't be surprised if it did. If my thoughts are, it doesn't seem like it would. So I think it just has to do with the physical world. Now, the souls that are born into the physical world, they have different states of consciousness. Some have spiritual consciousness, and in the Sat Yuga, the majority of humans on the world will have spiritual consciousness. So let's say you're born right in the midst of Sat Yuga. You're going to be born in a world that's very different than it is now. You're going to be born in a really beautiful world of consciousness, meaning all the people in the world who have a higher state of beautiful consciousness. So from the very beginning, you're going to be raised by those of a higher state of consciousness. So it's going to bring out a higher state of consciousness in you. So you'll be able to have a life of higher state of consciousness easily in the Sat Yuga. And then it's multiplied. More and more are born, and more are born. So more and more are influenced by the world. More and more are born, and so it has a tremendous effect on souls being liberated or making significant strides in spiritual consciousness. But you don't have to be dependent on the yugas. You can live in the Sat Yuga right now. The yugas on the outside are come from your state of consciousness. So you can live in the Sat Yuga now, even though your body's in the physical world. You can be observing and interacting with the physical world while yourself being in pure consciousness, which is consciousness of truth, which is what the Sat Yuga is. So you can have all the characteristics of what human beings have in the Sat Yuga, but you can have it now, which is, I'm sure all of us, now that we're in the world and we're born now, all of us have been had lives in the depths of Kali Yuga. We've had some very difficult lives, much more difficult than what we have now. Significant pain and sorrow in the darkness of the Kali Yuga, much more difficult than what we have now. It's compared to the depths of the Kali Yuga, it's very nice in comparison to that. But in comparison to the Sat Yuga, it's quite horrid. But you can have the consciousness of the Sat Yuga. Now, all that's required is self-realization.
Gurudev, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Happy Father's Day, first of all.
Happy Baba's Day. Babaji Day.
Hanji,
Happy Babaji Day.
happy Babaji Day. You're sitting in front of us, so I have to say it. But my question is from a satsang yesterday. You were saying, you're talking about like how your spiritual powers, how you can be in one places, multiple places, or you can also disappear. But then you were also before that, you were explaining about samadhi, and you're like, when you're in a deep meditation, you can leave, and then how do you come back? Is it like if you were talking about the experiences, right? In life, you were talking about like how your thoughts are there but not there, but then you get to the samadhi state, then your physical form can eventually disappear, but then if you're a spiritual being, then how do you come back?
Well, samadhi, just simply explained as samadhi is, there's different states of samadhi. So a preliminary first state of samadhi is your thoughts of your mind are not frequent, and the thoughts that you do have are not compelling. So you start to lose awareness of thoughts, and the thoughts aren't energized. So the light of your soul doesn't energize your thoughts. So your thoughts are not influential in a lower state of samadhi. And then a high state of samadhi, there's no disturbances. Thoughts are like disturbances in the water. They're vrittis. And in higher states of consciousness, there's no thoughts. So that's, if you're wondering if you experience samadhi, you can gauge it by when you meditate. Am I aware of thoughts? Do I have thoughts? And every time we meditate, we have thoughts. So all those decades that I would meditate, as soon as I sat down, I had thoughts. Now, if there were thoughts of the world, it would always be difficult to meditate. If there were divine thoughts, like thoughts of the guru, thoughts of the divine beings, if there were spiritual thoughts, they would be conducive to being calm and being still. So the nice thing about samadhi is you don't strive for it. You don't manufacture it. You don't try to buy your superpowers. Being exceptionally gifted at meditation, you have samadhi. Samadhi takes you and and brings you in deeper and brings you up higher. That divine power takes control of you, and then brings you into divine states. So all you have to do is be prepared. And what that means is you need to be living a pure life. Number one, purify your body. You can fast while you're abstaining from processed foods. Fast for a period of time, purify your body. And then keep your mind pure. Don't watch the news. Don't watch all of the entertaining things on the internet. Just read Self-Knowledge by Shankaracharya. Read the Vedas, read the Upanishads, read yoga. All the books of Yogananda are all good. All the original books are all good. And have a set period for meditation every morning. Every morning at a particular time, and you have to set a particular time. It can't just be when I wake up. It has to be, okay, I'm going to meditate at 5 a.m. And so you're ready at 5 a.m. You've gotten everything done, washed your face, bathed, or whatever you've done. You've had a cup of tea if you desire, whatever, and you've done some Maha Mudras. And at 5 a.m., then you're ready to meditate. And then you do that every day at the exact same time. Most important meditation is in the morning. I had a job for a temporary time, working at night. It was a night shift. So I went into work at 7 o'clock at night. And so I worked throughout the night. And then I would get off the next morning. And I was living on an island at the time called Treasure Island. And then I would go home, and then I would go to sleep at 10 a.m. in the morning. And so then when I would wake up, and it's usually around 3 p.m. That was my morning. That's when I would meditate. So you can see it. There's all sorts of variables depending on the life that you're living. But the most important meditation is in the morning. And for most people, mornings, it is dark. It is early in the morning. The very best time to meditate is when it's dark outside, when everybody else is asleep, things are quiet. And it's really conducive to meditation. So if you sit to meditation and your body is uncomfortable, it's going to be difficult to meditate. So your body has to be comfortable. So your body has to be healthy, has to be pure, and has to be somewhat flexible. So that's perfecting your asana, becoming have a perfection of your asana. It's something you have to master, and it's something that you do have to accomplish because it's physical. Anything physical is desirous has to be accomplished. So you accomplish purifying your body. You accomplish fitting your asana, and you also have to accomplish your powers of concentration. This is all preliminary to meditation. You have to be able to concentrate. Almost all spiritual practices have a little bit of physical kriyas, but most of the kriyas all have to do with improving your power of your mind, power of concentration. All the techniques other than Kriya Pranayama are primarily to improve your concentration. So concentration throughout life is always important in anything that you do. Like if you read a book, for example, just turn off the music, turn off everything else, and just concentrate on that book. When I was reading books, because I did it with that kind of concentration, I would complete an entire book in one day because I just focused on that book. that type of focus, that type of concentration is necessary for samadhi. I'm not saying reading books fast is necessary. The concentration is necessary. So when you elevate your consciousness by your efforts just a little bit, by mastering your purifying your body, mastering your asana, doing the kriya techniques, that's all that's required of you. And you just have a little bit of elevation, and then God takes you and lifts you up into a higher state of consciousness, takes you and lifts you up into samadhi, and then you're practicing Kriya Yoga. That's the airplane route. Is when you start practicing samadhi. Experiencing samadhi is not perfection. It isn't God realization. It's a higher state of consciousness that you have to practice going into to remove karma, to remove the samskaras, to remove the worldly impressions, the mental impressions, the physical impressions, so that you can be a permanent, you can live permanently in a higher state of consciousness. That's what's preventing us from automatically being in a higher state of consciousness. So it's all, there's all these spiritual books, spiritual teachers, but it's all ancient wisdom. There's nothing new spiritually. There's nothing you need to read in any new books at all. Almost not all of them, but almost all of the new books are not worth reading. There's nothing that you have to accomplish other than some simple things. Purification. The reason you practice purification is because impurities are what take you out of samadhi. Impurities are what destabilize your mind. So if God is pulling you up into samadhi, but the forces of the earth are pulling you down, then there's a tug of war, and that's what some people call Kundalini side effects. It's not a Kundalini side effect. That's a ridiculous statement that people make. It's your impurities. Your impurities continue to tug you down, and the spiritual force is going up. And the reason you start experiencing this tension is the knowledgeable people say, well, it's the Kundalini. It has nothing to do with the Kundalini. It's your bad habits. It's your bad karma is the cause of it. If your bad habits, if you had none, if you had no bad karma, the Kundalini would go right up into Sasara up here, and it would remain here. And you would remain in a state of high consciousness. And then all throughout the day, when you're not meditating, your consciousness stays elevated. It stays here. It sometimes comes to the heart, but it stays here. You're interacting with others, you're talking to others, but your consciousness remains around here continually. It doesn't go lower. It doesn't go into the lower chakras. So complete purification is necessary for self-realization. Now, at initiation, you can have self-realization. In other words, oh, this is what I am, and it can be shown to you. But you continue to do the Kriya Yogas, the methods of Kriya Yoga, so that you can be permanently in a state of self-realization, not just a temporary experience, but you're permanently in a state of self-realization, meaning I am Atma, I'm all-powerful, I'm pure, I'm incorruptible, nothing can harm me, nothing can hurt me. And then you have good characteristics, you have loving characteristics, you have compassionate characteristics, you have characteristics of kindness, of sweetness. This is all the nature of the self. All the other bad uh, uh, attitudes of the mind all come from the world that we mix our mind with.
So, Guruji, purification of the body, could you repeat it again for like in brief? How do we do it? Is it through pranayama and not watching, like what you said, the news and just not? I mean, I
Well,
haven't understood how.
yeah, purification of the body is simply eating simply, eating simple foods, uh, rice, dal, khechari, uh, nothing processed, drinking fresh, clean water and juices, uh, uh, nuts that aren't processed. They're just unprocessed foods of nature. Uh, if you eat unprocessed foods of nature, you'll always be slightly hungry, and it's that hunger that makes the food taste good. If you don't have if you're not hungry and you eat food, you don't get to enjoy the taste as much. So it's strange, but being when you're children, you're always hungry because you don't have access to food. So we always enjoyed dinner when you're children because you're hungry, and then you really enjoy it. So you don't overdo anything. You eat a simple uh, diet, and then with that you do some exercise. It can be walking, just simply walking. Is tremendous exercise. That's what Yogananda did. That's what the Mahatmas I lived with. Uh, they all walked. I walked up and down the Ganges. They walked up and down the Ganges every day. Uh, just simply walking. But you can do uh, hatha yoga along with that. There's all Tai Chi, uh, things that increase your balance and your flexibility. That's all purification of the body. When I when I was doing intense tapas or spiritual disciplines, I was my body was perfectly in tune. My body was perfectly pure in every aspect. So there was nothing. There was no tension in the body whatsoever. There's no defect in the body whatsoever that has the effect of lowering your consciousness, bringing your consciousness back to the body. So when God is pulling you up into samadhi, the body and the forces of the earth are pulling you down. So this is all preparation for meditation, and meditation is pure uh, uh, concentration. It's no movement of the mind is meditation. Doing kriyas isn't meditation. That people think, well, I have kriya, I'll do these kriyas, and I just did my meditation. That's not even meditation. They're all kriyas that you do to bring you to that point of meditating. Paramahansa Yogananda said that when most people, meaning most Kriya yogis, stop their meditation, he says, that's when I'm just starting. And that's exactly right. I mean, he would, all throughout his life, he would meditate usually 4 hours a day. But when he meditated, some people observed him. He usually just meditated alone in his room. But some people observed him and they said that he was just like a stone, no movement whatsoever, just like a solid mountain rock. No body consciousness, no body movement, just completely, totally fixed on his ideal. So we also have to develop to that point. It's imperative that you do. It's imperative that you master your asana. in whatever state of health that you're in, never be obsessive about it, but just make your health as good as possible. That's all you have to do. It's a minor accomplishment, but it's important. I can't. Well, okay. I was sick also when I was in India, so I was in the ideal environment, and then I got dysentery, and the dysentery became really bad. But I was already in a very high state of consciousness from the meditation in the company of the Mahatmas and perfect masters. So when sickness came, which is a serious sickness, it brought me almost to death. The doctor at the hospital said I was close to death. All of my organs were going to shut down. But I never suffered from it. And my consciousness was always free. It was not here. It was in the sky. I never suffered from the ailment. So I had already, I was already continually in a higher state of consciousness before I got sick that first time. So that's an example of a higher state of consciousness, realization of the self. Nothing in the world can affect you. It can affect your body. It can affect your mind, but it can't affect you, and it can't affect your consciousness. You're free. You're free while living. So purification of the body. If you're a little bit older, remember I was young when I started. Get a little bit older, maybe have some injuries, lost some flexibility because of some injuries, some ailments. Try to minimize those through just simply changing your diet to a pure diet is going to help a lot in your health. So you do that, and get to your ideal body weight, which is ideal for you. Which your ideal body weight isn't necessarily somebody else's. One of my gurus was quite chubby, quite plump, and then my other guru was very, very skinny, very, very thin. It's just their body types. If you go to Hawaii, when I went to Hawaii, the native Hawaiians, they're all big. I mean, they're plump. And you go to some other cultures, and it's your culture is thin. So we have different in Ayurveda. There's the different body types, body structures. You know when you're in a good state of health. So you can be heavy and be in a higher state, in a good state of health. It isn't just pounds or kilos. You know what that is. So being in a good state of health affects your mind, and your mind affects your meditation. And I never watched the news, not even one time in the entirety of my life until I was in my 30s. It was the first time I even watched a news episode. I was in my late 30s. First time. Never watched the news. I couldn't have told you anything about the world. I knew it was totally oblivious to everything in the world. I had no idea what was going on in the world, who the prime minister is, who the president is, what the politics are. I had no idea. I watch the news now sometimes. I like it, but it doesn't affect me. But if you're if you're not stable in your meditation, it can have a big effect on you. I watch it now, and I observe my awareness and the consciousness, and I can see it, how it can have a big effect on people, because I can see it starting to have an effect on me, and then I stop it before it gets to that point. But yeah, it's very influential. The news is. Let's say you're in the news business. It wouldn't necessarily have to have any effect on you at all, because you're seeing it as a business. You're not necessarily taking it personally. So if you're a journalist, for example, if you're an objective journalist, it's your work. When your work is over, then you leave it, and then you go back to yourself. So whatever your occupation is in the world, it doesn't have to have an effect on you. There's been some perfect masters, some really famous ones that have had really, really poor careers, and the ones that worked in some really bad conditions we certainly wouldn't choose to work in. So those are all things that we can change, and then meditate at the same time every morning. If you have trouble waking up, take a shower, not a bath, but a shower. Especially if you can take a cold shower, you're definitely gonna be awake for meditation. So if that's a problem, first thing in the morning, take a shower. Most of my life I lived in ashrams, so you're living with a lot of people in one building. So there's always people around. You know, I would wake up early, and the very first thing before meditation, I would take a shower. One is I didn't want to compete with the shower with other people wanting to take the shower at the same time. But I also just did it very first. Those things, I got them all out of the way while everybody else was asleep. And then I didn't have to compete with them about using the shower, for example. But it would really wake me up for meditation. Showers really wake you up. So if you have that problem, first thing in the morning, jump out of bed, and do jump out of bed. Don't linger in bed, and take a shower. If you can't stand cold water, just gradually make it cooler and cooler. And in India, when I shower in India, you don't even need hot water except for in the winter. When I lived in Hardwar, I would bathe in the Ganges, and that if you bathe in the Ganges in the winter, that will definitely wake you up. You're going to be very alert. I remember it vividly. So water can really help you in your meditation. Meditate at the same time. Now also practice Khechari Mudra. Make it a very serious practice. Devote yourself to Khechari Mudra, and then you won't have any unnecessary conversations with other people. You won't talk as much, and the more you talk, the more your vital essence is leaving your body. Vital essence that can be used for your concentration. In spiritual life, spiritual literature, they talk about celibacy. Celibacy also is talk. In other words, not letting your vital essence just go out into the world through talking. Keep your tongue in Khechari Mudra, and then during the day, especially, continue to practice stretching your tongue. Make that a real priority in daily life, and you'll find. I go back. I look over different times when I did get into arguments, and I got pulled into arguments. My nature isn't to argue at all. Um, I can see going through the entirety of my life without ever having an argument. But occasionally in life, I have had some arguments, and I see that I didn't have to participate in the argument. If I had known now, if I'd known then what I know now, I would have not gotten into those arguments. I just would have put my tongue in Khechari Mudra and let them do what they're doing until they exhaust themselves. So by controlling your tongue, it can have a big effect on your life, huge effect. You can avoid so many troubles, and troubles make it difficult to meditate. Um, troubles are also very, very good. Troubles can compel you to meditate, can compel you to turn towards God even stronger. Doing your practice with even more enthusiasm when you have troubles. The troubles are not a bad thing, but rather than participating in the trouble, let the trouble say, "Hey, this trouble is really pulling me out into the world. I'm not going to participate. I'm going to focus my consciousness on God and do what I have to do to minimize the trouble or to eliminate the trouble, but I'm going to do it without passion. I'm going to be dispassionate about it. And then you'll find that your troubles will be solved. Sometimes they take a long time. I was in a real difficult situation for a long time. Really took its toll on my on the amount of work that I had to produce in a short period of time. And I used to, and I thought about it, and I thought that this will never change. This situation I'm in will be forever. Meaning until death. Death is the only thing that will end it. I saw no way out, and I'm good at finding ways out of things. But I saw no way out of it. Well, that situation doesn't exist now. That situation took care of itself within a period of 2 days. Completely, everything became the opposite of bad. Everything became good, and that problem completely, totally was eliminated permanently within 2 days. But you know, I endured it for about 3 years. So it was enduring it for 3 years. Now, also, the troubles are also good for you because they teach you that. They teach you to be, okay, things are going bad, but I'm going to continue to think positive. I'm going to continue to believe in God and trust in God, in cooperation with God. And I know that whatever I'm going through, that it's for my own good, even though I don't know what that is. I trust in God, and I'll be patient. I'll do what I can, whatever I can, to eliminate the problem or the situation. But I'll also be patient. And so it'll teach you patience. Yogananda, most of his disciples had a problem with patience, and so he spent a lot of time teaching his disciples patience. Patience is very, very important, and you can change your nature. You can change it into a patient nature. I've always excelled in patience. It's just my nature. I remember my third grade teacher. We're sitting at a little desk. I don't remember her last name, but her name is Jane. I can still see her face. And she came. All the students were sitting in the classroom, and she came alongside of me, and she stooped down and she whispered in my ear. She said, "You're extraordinarily patient." And she observed that about me. I was surprised to hear it. I didn't know. Because that's just my nature is patient. It's important to have a patient nature, especially in your life, but especially in your meditation. You have to be very, very patient. It took me it took me over 30 years, 35 years to have a clear state of consciousness. So it took many decades. I couldn't tell you precisely, but it's about 35 years of consistent meditation through really good times and really bad times, really good situations, really bad situations. And then, now, if your situation is really horrible, because we find ourselves in situations that are horrible, and in that situation, I also thought about this. I thought about just renouncing the world, just walking away, and reincarnating myself, meaning completely changing my life. And you can always do that. I like the idea. Whatever situation you have, if it's really untenable, just walk away from it. Just leave all your stuff. There's nothing that you really need, and just leave all of it. What do you need? You need some clothes, you need some food, you need a roof over your head. That's easily attainable. I mean, all of you have the skill of making money. If you have, meaning you can always earn an income to keep a roof over your head, and then leave the situation if it becomes that bad. I've always liked that idea. I left everything when I was a boy. When I first went to India, I left everything, and I mean completely everything. And I almost did it again as an adult. I could have. I was real close to doing that, but then the problem. It's kind of interesting, but when I was really ready to do that was when the problem within those several days, the problem completely solved itself without me doing anything. So wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you always have the power. You can always choose. You can always choose. You can make a choice.
Respected Swamiji.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a query pertaining to meditation in the morning. So usually I meditate for 35 minutes in the morning, but then there are some days that my mind is scattered. It could be like most of the days even. And then even though I sit for an hour, I'm really meditating on my scattered mind. So I can spend like an hour and a half as well, maybe. But then my mind is still scattered. And then I wonder, is it better to sit for 30 minutes and focus rather than sit for an hour and a half with a scattered mind and just struggle to like meditate? Which is better? Because I read somewhere that it's better to sit for a shorter time in meditation, but with focus, rather than for a longer time with a scattered mind and then get used to that. What would be your advice? Thank you.
It's a good question. It's a good question, and the answer is very simple and very, very simple. With a Hansa mantra, you concentrate on breathing in and you concentrate on breathing out. So I understand when you sit to meditation, your mind is scattered. when I would sit for meditation, my mind would be scattered. You concentrate on the breath coming in and concentrate on the breath going out along with the mantra. That's what you do. And you stick with it. No matter how scattered the mind is, you bring it back to the breath and the mantra. Mind goes off, bring it back to the breath and the mantra. Mind goes here and there, immediately bring it back to the mantra. Continually do that. Even if the mind runs off 100 times, continually bring it back to the breath and the mantra. Continually do that over and over and over every day. And then your mind will learn to start to enjoy participating in the mantra. You're training your mind. So you can change the nature of your mind. If you're doing obsessive thinking, which is what that is, it's a rajasic tendency of rajas, of activity. So you can change that tendency into a sattvic tendency. The tendency is calmness and the ability to focus your mind on what you want to focus on. So practicing Kriya Yoga is focusing your mind repeatedly on the breath with the mantra. You do it over and over and over again. And then eventually the mind will start to calm down. And then peace will start to come. That's for everybody. Every single one of you should do that. That's what I do. And then if you do it continually every single day at the same time, the whole nature of your mind is going to change. It's going to be mostly sattvic. So you won't be doing obsessive thinking when you sit. Like when I sit to meditate now, immediately my mind stops completely, immediately. Whereas before sometimes it would take an hour just for my mind to start to calm down before I could even start to meditate. I would do the Aksa with breath repeatedly for an hour. Before my mind would even start to calm down, it would take that long. Sometimes it never did calm down. But I continued with the practice the next day. So sometimes you're not successful in calming the mind down, but that still has an effect on the mind because you're training the mind. You think of, I lived out west in Oklahoma where we had mostly cows and horses and buffalo, and there are wild horses out there, and they are wild. And if you want to capture a wild horse, you have to train it. And when you train a wild horse, you have to do the training consistently, day after day after day after day, and then the horse starts to become calm. It's true of dogs. It's true of horses. It's true of us because we also are animals. All of these instincts that we have are all animal instincts. The instinct to procreate is an animal instinct. All animals do it. We do it. Food is an animal instinct. Rajasic tendencies are all animal instincts. Sattvic tendencies are divine instincts or divine qualities. We need to change our nature from tamasic and rajasic to sattvic. Now, if your nature is primarily sattvic, you can live a life that is rajasic, but it's always a good active life. There's nothing wrong with lots of activities, being engaged in lots of activities if you have a sattvic nature. And we can change our nature into sattvic. The nature of the gopis, for example, was very, very sattvic, with prem bhava, emotional, loving emotional feelings for Krishna and for each other too. That's the ideal way for a soul to live, is with its own nature. And the nature of your soul is divine. The nature of my soul is divine. Discover that nature and then start living that nature in your daily life, and you'll be supremely peaceful and satisfied and serene and knowledgeable. Everything that I teach you, I haven't learned it from books. I haven't learned it from other people. I've learned it through practice, through living, through experience.
Many thanks. And I had another query, is that sometimes we say perfect the asana. So sometimes when I'm sitting and meditating, suddenly I'm totally fine, but my leg, one part of my leg and feet completely go numb and dead. And then I have to break to shift. I have to wake up my leg because it's gone completely numb. It doesn't happen every day, but some days it just happens. And then I keep sifting and trying to figure out which is the right asana, which is the right position. And then my meditation I think just goes off like that. So what do I do for that? I'm like still struggling to find my perfect position.
Yeah, sometimes one of your legs will go numb. It frequently happened to me. It still happens to me. Especially my left leg, because it's compromised by surgery. A lot of the nerves are damaged in my left leg. There's a portion of my left leg I can't even feel it now. You could stick a needle and I wouldn't feel it. But in meditation in particular, I understand the numbness. Ignore it. That's what I always did. The leg would be completely numb. That would the fact that I'm aware that the leg is completely numb means that I need to go deeper in meditation. Why am I having body consciousness? I'm not here for body consciousness. I'm here for divine consciousness. So that's a sign that you need to deepen your meditation. So the leg going numb, you don't need to stretch it. It can be uncomfortable. Sometimes it can be painful. It's not a matter of shifting your position. It's just let it be painful. Let it be uncomfortable. Find out what happens if you do. I did. I experimented with that. What happens if I have extreme pain and numbness in my leg? What happens if I just continue with my meditation and ignore it? What happens? Well, I know exactly what happens in my case. I become oblivious to it eventually. I no longer feel it. It's trying to compel us to break our asana, to move, be determined to find out what asana is best for you. My asana was always Padmasana, the lotus position. And so I would always meditate in that asana without any bodily disturbance at all, no disturbance. But I was in perfect health and perfect flexibility and extremely thin also. So find out what is your best asana, what's best for the architecture of your body, and our body types are different. I always meditate sitting on the floor, and then find out. It might take some experimentation to find out what asana is best for you, and but once you find it, then say, okay, this is my asana, and this is what I'm going to do, and I'm through looking for other asanas. This is the one I'm settling on through experiment. And then stay with it. It'll be your asana. Like when I was initiated, I was told to do this, tamas guna, rajas guna, sattva guna, atma, paramatma, disconnect from the gunas. So I was told to do this mudra when I meditate, and I still do it today. It's not something I have to do. It's just it became a habit. So with both hands, I do this when I meditate today. It's just extremely comfortable. It became very comfortable through habit, and so your asana can become very comfortable through habit. So much so you might prefer it all the time. Prefer your asana over walking or sitting in chairs or other things. It's become so comfortable for you, but it takes practice to make a habit.
Many thanks. And I have one more small query, and this is with respect to Khechari Mudra. So I can keep my tongue back. It can go really back, but go beyond the palate, but it doesn't get into that hook even now. But I can stretch it and keep it there comfortably for Kriya or for Hong Sao, and even during the day sometimes if I remember. But I was wondering, how can I take it actually really back and hook it there? Even when I push it, even when I use my fingers to pull my tongue back and try and see if it's good, I'm not able to do it. And at that point where there is that drop, when I touch that, I think in one satsang you mentioned that it feels a little sweet, but I don't feel that. I feel like a little salty, and I'm not able to take it that back. So is that all right? Will it happen with practice, or is it okay where it is right now?
Well, you just need to stretch the tongue a little bit more. So during the day is the time to stretch your tongue, not during meditation. So continually every day, as a discipline, continually throughout the day, put your tongue in Khechari Mudra. As high and far in as you can go with it starting to be a little painful, and keep it there and endure the pain for as long as you can. The pain is there because stretching is happening. So, it sounds like you just need to stretch your tongue just a little bit more, probably just a millimeter or two, not very much. And then every day, like exercise, get a towel and grab your tongue and stretch it, and pull it out, and pull it to each side to where it starts to hurt. Not beyond that. You don't want to hurt yourself. But just you'll know that you're stretching because the next day your tongue will be sore. You'll wake up in the morning, your tongue will be sore. It's sore because you had stretched it. So it sounds like you just need to do that probably. In your case, probably for 3 months, you'll probably achieve your goal, or maybe even a shorter period of time. It doesn't take a long time to stretch the tongue, but if not everybody has to even stretch the tongue, but most people do. So you can significantly stretch your tongue within several months.
Like sometimes like 3-4 times a day? To what? 3-4.
All throughout the day.
Stretch it backwards? Take it back or take it?
No, all throughout the day, inside your mouth, do the Khechari Mudra, but continually stretch the tongue back and up as far as it'll go until it starts to hurt, and then keep it there where it's starting to hurt. And every week you'll be able to move it a little bit higher, a little bit further as the tongue stretches. Now,
Sorry, is the stretch to be backwards? Is it it's a backward stretch? Or
yeah,
it like front?
Yeah. Oh no, inside your mouth is closed, so you're doing Khechari Mudra, but you're putting your tongue as far back and up as possible, and until you start to feel a little bit of pain, and then keep it in that position and endure the pain. It's not a bad pain; it's just a little pain, and do it for as long as you can endure it. And relax the tongue, and then do it again. And just do that all throughout the day. Of course, you can't do it when you're talking to people, but every other moment you can do it. And once your tongue is stretched, it's permanent. You don't have to do it again. Your tongue doesn't go back the way it was before. It's permanently stretched, as far as I know. Yeah, that would be a really good accomplishment for you. The sweet nectar-like taste comes from the sasara. It comes from here, and it drips down into the to where you taste it. The salty taste is just the taste of the bodily fluids that has salt in it. But just like you see the water, the liquid manifesting from the top of my head when I show you, it's also coming down inside as well. And it's physical, but it's a spiritual fluid. It's coming from the astral body. So it has divine properties of healing, calmness, concentration, focus, enjoyment, but all inner enjoyment, and it is continually is taking prana from out of the body, out of the senses, and internalizing it. But that little sweet nectar taste, you even without being able to perform Khechari Mudra in meditation, it drops down and you can taste it if you put your tongue back in it. It doesn't require Khechari Mudra. See?
What happens when we keep the tongue up all the way to where you're saying your mouth gets open when you're in dhyan? So you're like, for me, what happens if I'm sitting in one direction, by the time I'm done with my meditation, I don't even realize I'm in another direction, and my tongue is up, but my mouth is open.
Always keep your mouth shut.
Oh. And then
you never have your mouth open.
I don't do it subconsciously. It's just like when I don't even realize it happens. So
yeah, always throughout your waking day, always breathe through your nose. Keep your mouth closed and breathe through your nose.
And the other thing is, I feel I get confused where you're doing the Khechari Mudra, but then when you're saying, you were trying to explain yesterday how to do the and E. Is your tongue is up also as well on the same time? Like
no, when you're doing Kriya Pranayama, you're breathing through your mouth, and so you don't put your tongue in Khechari Mudra when you're doing Kriya Pranayama. You're breathing through the mouth. You're breathing through the mouth then. But now, and in higher states of Kriya Pranayama practice, then you start doing Kriya Pranayama, breathing through the nose, not through the mouth, and then you do Kriya Pranayama with your tongue in Khechari Mudra. But that's a more a further advanced state in Kriya Pranayama.
So when we're doing the first one, you said you just not bringing the tongue up, you're just breathing from your mouth, and you're just saying hum and then sa, and then
you're breathing at the back. You're breathing at the back of your throat. So when you breathe in, it goes. Sounds like. And when you breathe out, it sounds like. And then the advanced state is you put your tongue in Khechari Mudra. And what I'm doing is I'm not breathing. I'm circulating prana up and down the Sushumna. You can't see it. I can feel it. You might see the effects on my body if I did. If I do just 4 or 5 kriyas, the fluid will start coming out. So you can see the effects of that, and you can see my hair standing on end. But my tongue's in Khechari Mudra because I'm not breathing through the mouth, and I'm also not breathing through the nose. I'm breathing through the prana in the Sushumna. So that's advanced. Most Kriya Yogis, what Kriya Yoga is taught now, nobody knows anything about this. Because they haven't been to much Yogananda. Yogananda taught this to some of his disciples. So there's a lot of talk about the advanced Kriya techniques. I want to learn the secret advanced techniques. Well, they're not secrets that are being kept from you. None of the Kriyas are secret. They're not being kept from you. It's just that you're not able to do them. So it's unknown to you. A secret is something that you don't know. Once it's told to you, it's no longer a secret. So it's not that something is secret. It's never secret. It's just that you don't know it. So if you can't breathe in your Sushumna, then for you that's secret. For somebody that can do it, it isn't secret. So that's a higher technique. So how can I teach somebody? How can I teach that to somebody? How can I teach a higher technique to somebody? I could only teach that to somebody able to do it. Teaching somebody something you're unable to do, what good is that? You have to graduate to the point to where you're able to do it, and then a middle school student, you don't put them in an advanced college class. I mean, they advance little by little. But then none of the kriyas are necessary. You can be self-realized without doing any kriyas at all. You can be self-realized without doing any kriya yoga. It's not necessary for everybody. Some have self-realization just through bhakti, and they have start to taste pure love, and they have an ecstasy-like experience. That's the prana, just on its own, directed by God, coming up to Sushumna, and you don't have to practice any yoga disciplines. You know, to do any of those. Ramakrishna didn't teach pranayama. He actually discouraged his disciples from doing any pranayamas. So pranayama is not necessary. It's recommended to all of you because for us it's very beneficial. For others, for some other people, it's not. Some other practice might be more beneficial for them. The kriyas might be unnecessary. But Kriya Yoga it can be taught at a very advanced level, meaning to Mahatmas. It can be taught to Mahatmas to advance even higher, but it can also be taught to worldly people who aren't very advanced. They can also practice it. So it's a really good practice. If you have, let's say you very much love God, and you go up to Badranath and you meet a yogi, and that yogi becomes your guru. The yogi sees that you have some divine qualities and says, let me help you, let me teach you. So then that yogi becomes your guru and you become the disciple. And in a short period of time, the yogi can help you advance to a state of self-realization and even God realization without doing any Kriya Yoga without doing anything. He might teach you just a simple mantra, or some other kriya that isn't like our kriyas. So everybody's different. Everybody has different requirements, but everybody's the same. Everybody needs to bring prana into the Sushumna and elevate into the higher chakras. Everybody needs that. It can be done through all different spiritual practices, not only Kriya Pranayama. But we don't care about that. I don't think about that. I do what I was taught. And so I do what I was taught for 40, yeah, for 44 years I've been doing it. Yeah, Tuesday would be for 45 years I've been doing it. Been doing the same techniques. Haven't done any other techniques. Not interested in any other. This is what my guru taught me. This is what I do. And it works for me. So I'm not interested in other kriyas, other techniques. But I do teach higher kriyas to people that are capable of practicing the higher kriyas. Personally, I don't practice them. I never have. I practice the ones that I teach you. I don't practice the higher kriyas. Never have. Kriyas have purposes. If you don't have the problem, you don't need the kriya. If you have a specific problem, you need a specific kriya. Some people do the same kriyas because they generally have the same problem. And then some practice higher kriyas because they have a different sort of problem than we have. Some practice the higher kriyas because their problem is bigger than yours is. It isn't necessarily that they themselves as an individual is more spiritually advanced. It's just that they might have a type of problem that requires a higher kriya. So you can become advanced spiritually, and along with it, you can enhance the strength of your ego. And so some higher kriyas might need to be practiced in order to diminish your ego. But usually just some standard old-fashioned humiliation is a good way to reduce your ego. I've had lots of humiliations, some really bad humiliations, but humiliation doesn't bother me. Never has. I don't care what people think about me. So if I'm out of money and I have no resource, I'll beg for money. I have no problem with it. I have no. I don't care if people what they think about me. Or if I don't have any food, I'll beg for food. My ego has no problem with it. But we don't have the problems that they had in ancient times, or even 100 years ago, or 200 years. They had so many problems that we don't have in this modern time. We have our own kinds of problems. Okay, that's it for today. I'll see everybody on next Friday. PK, happy Babaji Day.
Thanks. Happy Babaji Day.
Thank you, Guruji.
Thank
Om
you.
Tat Sat.
Om Tat Sat.
Om Tat Sat.
Guruji.
Om Tat Sat.